Seniors, after 60, your legs and joints can start weakening faster than you realize. Every step becomes harder. Every morning feels more painful. But what if one simple collagen-rich food could help support your knees, strengthen your joints, and keep you walking with confidence? Most older adults are completely ignoring this powerful food, and that mistake could be accelerating stiffness and mobility problems every single day. Before you take another supplement, you need to hear this, because this one food could change the way your body feels after 60 forever. But before I reveal the secret, do not forget to press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and write your opinion in the comments section below. There is something deeply disturbing happening to millions of older adults right now, and most of them have no idea it is already happening inside their bodies. It begins quietly. A little swelling around the ankles, a strange tightness in the calves, a tingling feeling in the feet late at night. Then one morning you wake up and your legs feel heavier than they used to. Walking across the room suddenly feels different, slower, harder, more exhausting. Most people blame aging, but after 40 years of treating seniors, I can tell you this with complete honesty. Aging is not always the real enemy. Sometimes the real enemy is deficiency. Your body is slowly losing the very thing that holds it together. Collagen, the protein that supports your joints, your skin, your blood vessels, your muscles, even the tiny tissues in your legs that help blood flow properly. And once collagen starts disappearing, the body begins breaking down in ways most people never connect. The terrifying part is this: collagen loss does not announce itself loudly in the beginning. It whispers. A swollen foot, a stiff knee, pain climbing stairs, leg cramps in the middle of the night. Those are not random inconveniences. They are warning signs, and if ignored long enough, the damage can become very difficult to reverse. What shocks me most is how many seniors are unknowingly making the problem worse every single day with the foods they eat. Some foods quietly destroy collagen faster, others starve the body of what it needs to rebuild. And by the time swelling and weakness become obvious, the body may have been deteriorating for years. But tonight, I want to show you something different. 8 foods, natural foods, foods that may help support collagen production and help aging legs feel stronger again. Some of these foods were treasured decades ago. Now they are forgotten. One of them may already be in your kitchen right now, and another is a food many seniors have spent years avoiding out of fear. But before we get there, I want you to think carefully about something. Have you noticed your legs looking different lately? More puffiness around the ankles? More stiffness after sitting? Maybe your socks leave deep marks that were never there before. That is not something to casually ignore, because circulation problems do not always begin in the heart. Sometimes they begin in the structural tissues surrounding the blood vessels themselves, and collagen plays a major role in keeping those tissues strong. When collagen weakens, the body struggles to maintain support. Fluid begins pooling. Inflammation increases. Movement becomes painful. I once treated a man named Richard, 71 years old, former construction worker. Strong hands, strong back, the kind of man who never complained. But one afternoon, he sat in my office and quietly told me something that stayed with me for years. He said, "Doctor, my legs do not feel like my legs anymore." That sentence haunted me, because I had heard it many times before. Not from one patient, hundreds, people who slowly lost strength without understanding why. Richard thought he simply needed more rest. But the real problem was happening deeper inside the body. Years of declining collagen support, years of chronic inflammation, years of poor nutritional repair. His joints were weakening, his circulation was slowing, and his body no longer repaired itself the way it once did. That is when I started paying closer attention to something modern medicine often overlooks. Food, not trendy diets, not miracle powders. Real foods, traditional foods, foods the human body recognizes. And the first food on this list may surprise you. Bone marrow. Most people hear those words and immediately feel uncomfortable. But decades ago, bone marrow was considered valuable nutrition, especially for older adults recovering from weakness and fatigue. Now science is beginning to understand why. Bone marrow contains nutrients that help support connective tissues throughout the body. It contains natural compounds linked to collagen formation, and for seniors struggling with stiffness and swelling, that matters more than most people realize. I remember another patient, Margaret, 68 years old. Her knees hurt so badly, she stopped going on evening walks with her husband. At first she blamed arthritis alone, but over time, the swelling in her legs became impossible to ignore. She told me her ankles felt like they were filled with wet sand. Heavy, tight, painful. After carefully improving her nutrition, including homemade broth made from marrow bones, something unexpected happened. Within weeks, she noticed less stiffness getting out of bed. Then the swelling slowly began easing. But here is what frightened her most. She realized her body had been weakening for years before she noticed the warning signs. That is what collagen decline does. It happens silently, and another forgotten food plays a major role in that story. Liver, yes, liver, a food many people refuse to touch. For years, it was treated almost like poison. But what most seniors do not realize is that liver contains critical nutrients the body uses during collagen production, nutrients that support skin repair, blood vessel strength, joint function, and muscle recovery. Without those nutrients, the body struggles to rebuild damaged tissue, and when repair slows down, inflammation often gets worse. That is when many seniors begin noticing burning feet, swollen knees, pain after short walks, even skin that bruises more easily. The body begins losing resilience, slowly, quietly. Then one day, simple tasks suddenly feel exhausting, and the next food on this list may be the most misunderstood of them all, because millions of people throw it away every single day without realizing what they are losing. Chicken skin. Most people remove it automatically. Years of fear taught them to avoid it. But properly cooked chicken skin contains natural collagen and connective tissue compounds that aging bodies desperately need. The problem is not the skin itself. The real danger is how it is cooked. Deep frying damages delicate proteins and creates inflammatory compounds that can make joint pain worse. But slow cooking is different. Gentle roasting, homemade broth, traditional preparation methods. That changes the equation completely. And what happened next with several of my older patients genuinely surprised me. Less stiffness, better movement, reduced heaviness in the legs. One woman even told me she started walking to the mailbox again after months of avoiding it. But there is another food that may be even more powerful. A food hospitals once dismissed for years. Now researchers are scrambling to study it more closely. And what it does inside aging joints is remarkable. That food is bone broth. And what I'm about to tell you about it changes everything. Bone broth was once considered old-fashioned, a simple kitchen remedy passed down through generations. Now many researchers are beginning to realize those older generations may have understood something modern society forgot. Because inside a properly prepared bone broth is something the aging body desperately craves: natural collagen, gelatin, minerals, and compounds that help support the tissues holding your joints together. But the real story goes deeper than that. As the body ages, repair slows down. Tiny damage inside the joints begins accumulating year after year. Inside the knees, inside the hips, even inside the small blood vessels running through the legs and feet. At first, the body keeps up. Then slowly, it cannot repair fast enough anymore. That is when stiffness appears, swelling follows, and eventually movement itself begins changing. I remember a patient named Eleanor, 74 years old, elegant woman, always dressed perfectly, but she stopped attending family gatherings because walking became too painful. She told me something heartbreaking during one appointment. She said, "Dr. Henry, I feel trapped inside my own body." That sentence stayed with me, because pain does not only affect the body, it steals confidence, freedom, independence. After adjusting her nutrition and adding warm bone broth into her evening routine several times a week, something began changing. Not overnight, but gradually. She reported less tightness in her knees, then less swelling around the ankles. Then one day she smiled and told me she walked through an entire grocery store without needing to sit down. Small victories become enormous after 60, and many seniors never realize how much nutrition affects those victories. But now we arrive at another forgotten collagen food, one that many people associate with children or desserts: gelatin. Not the artificial, brightly colored products loaded with chemicals. Real gelatin. Pure. Simple. What makes gelatin remarkable is how easily the aging body absorbs it. And that matters more than most people understand, because digestion changes dramatically with age. Many seniors are eating enough protein, but their bodies are no longer breaking it down efficiently. That means the building blocks for collagen never fully reach the tissues that need repair. Gelatin helps bridge that gap. It delivers amino acids the body recognizes quickly. And some seniors notice changes faster than expected. Less cracking in the joints, improved skin texture, reduced stiffness in the legs during the morning hours. I once spoke with a retired school teacher who described it perfectly. She said, "It feels like my body stopped drying out from the inside." That is exactly how collagen decline feels for many people. Dry joints, fragile tissues, weak support structures. The body slowly loses elasticity. And then comes one of the most overlooked foods on this entire list: tiny, inexpensive, usually sitting untouched on grocery store shelves: sardines. Most people never think about sardines when they think about joint health, but that is a mistake, because sardines are eaten whole: skin, bones, soft connective tissues, exactly the places where natural collagen compounds exist. And for older adults struggling with circulation problems, sardines may offer something incredibly important: support for blood vessel strength. This matters because weak blood vessels often contribute to swelling in the lower legs and ankles. When connective tissue weakens, circulation becomes less efficient. Fluid begins collecting where it should not. That heavy, tired feeling in the legs becomes more noticeable, especially at night, especially after long periods of sitting. One patient told me her feet felt like blocks of ice every evening. Cold, numb, painful. After several months of improving her collagen-supporting nutrition, including sardines several times each week, she noticed something unexpected: warmth returning to her feet. That may sound simple, but for many seniors, that change feels life-changing. Because when circulation improves, movement often becomes easier too. But now we are approaching the final two foods, and these next ones surprise almost everyone, because they are common, ordinary. Foods people eat every week without realizing they may be using them completely wrong. The next food is not meat, not broth, not fish. It is fruit. Papaya. Bright orange, sweet, soft, and hiding something very important inside: an enzyme that helps the body process proteins more efficiently. That matters because many older adults do not actually suffer from low protein intake. They suffer from poor absorption. Their digestive systems no longer extract nutrients the same way they did decades earlier. And without proper absorption, collagen production suffers. The body cannot rebuild effectively. That is when recovery slows down. Aching lasts longer. Swelling becomes stubborn. Weakness becomes more noticeable. I remember meeting a man in his late 60s who constantly complained about soreness in his calves after short walks. He thought his muscles were simply aging, but after improving digestion and nutrient absorption through dietary changes, including fresh papaya in the mornings, he noticed something surprising. His legs recovered faster. The heaviness began easing. Even his skin looked healthier. And there is something else many seniors do not realize. Chronic inflammation inside the digestive system can quietly interfere with collagen rebuilding throughout the entire body, which means improving digestion may indirectly improve circulation, mobility, and tissue repair at the same time. But the final food on this list is the one that truly shocks people. Because it has been sitting in American kitchens for generations. Some people eat it every morning. Others throw away the most important part without realizing the damage they may be causing. For decades, people feared this food. Doctors warned against it. Families avoided it. But now modern research is turning that belief upside down. And what this food may do for aging legs and joints is something every senior deserves to hear. Eggs. More specifically, egg yolks. This may be the most misunderstood food in the modern kitchen. For years, older adults were told to fear them. Fear the cholesterol. Fear the fat. Fear the damage they supposedly caused. And because of that fear, millions of seniors started throwing away the very part of the egg that contained some of the most valuable nutrients for aging bodies, the yolk. I cannot tell you how many times I have watched older patients carefully remove the yolk and eat only the whites, believing they were protecting themselves, when in reality, some were starving their bodies of important building blocks needed for repair. Because inside the yolk are nutrients connected to collagen production, natural compounds that help support joints, skin, muscles, and blood vessels. And after 60, those systems become far more vulnerable than most people realize. That is why collagen matters so much. Without enough collagen support, the body begins losing structural strength. The knees weaken, the ankles swell, the legs tire faster. Even balance may begin changing. And once balance starts declining, the danger becomes serious. Because one fall can change everything. I remember a patient named Harold, 76 years old, quiet man, lived alone after losing his wife. One morning he slipped getting out of bed because his legs felt weak and unstable. Thankfully, he survived the fall. But after that moment, fear entered his life. Fear of walking, fear of stairs, fear of being alone. What many people do not understand is that physical weakness affects the mind too. It creates anxiety, loss of confidence, isolation. That is why protecting mobility matters so much after 60. It is not just about comfort. It is about independence. When Harold began improving his nutrition, including eating whole eggs instead of avoiding the yolks, he noticed changes he did not expect. Less morning stiffness, more steady movement, better energy, and slowly his confidence returned. Now listen carefully. I am not telling you eggs are magic. No single food is magic. That is the mistake many people make. The body repairs itself through patterns, daily habits, consistent nourishment over time. But when the body finally receives what it has been missing for years, the difference can feel dramatic, especially for seniors whose bodies have quietly struggled in silence. And there is another important truth many people never hear. Collagen loss does not only affect appearance. This is not just about wrinkles. This is about structural survival, because collagen supports the connective tissues holding the body together, including tissues surrounding blood vessels, muscles, cartilage, even nerves. That is why some seniors experience strange symptoms that seem unrelated. Burning feet, tingling toes, weak grip strength, pain climbing stairs, heavy legs late at night. The body is interconnected, and when structural proteins decline, the effects spread everywhere. That is why ignoring these warning signs can become dangerous. I once treated a woman who waited nearly 5 years before seeking help for worsening swelling in her legs. At first, it only happened during long car rides. Then it began every evening. Eventually, her shoes no longer fit comfortably. By the time she came into my office, walking had become painful. She looked exhausted, not just physically, emotionally, because deep down she feared her body was giving up on her. But after carefully rebuilding her nutrition, improving circulation support, increasing collagen-friendly foods, and reducing inflammatory eating habits, something remarkable happened. The swelling slowly reduced, her energy improved, and perhaps most importantly, hope returned. That matters more than people realize, because many older adults begin believing decline is unavoidable. They believe weakness is simply part of getting older, but that is not always true. Sometimes the body is crying out for support, and the signs appear long before serious damage occurs. The frightening part is that modern diets often accelerate the problem. Highly processed foods, excess sugar, artificial ingredients, inflammatory oils. These foods quietly interfere with the body's ability to repair itself, day after day, year after year. Meanwhile, traditional nourishing foods disappeared from many dinner tables. Bone broth, slow-cooked meats, organ meats, natural collagen-rich foods people once consumed regularly. The body notices that absence, especially after 60. And here is something else I want you to remember. Consistency matters more than perfection. You do not need to transform your entire life overnight. Small changes repeated consistently can create powerful effects over time. A warm cup of broth, whole eggs in the morning, fresh papaya, sardines a few times each week. Simple habits. But those habits may help support the very systems keeping you mobile and independent. And if you are already experiencing swelling, tingling, weakness, or stiff joints, do not ignore those signals. Your body may be warning you earlier than you realize. Because by the time severe pain appears, collagen decline may have been happening silently for years. That is the part most people never hear. The body whispers before it screams. Always. So listen carefully to those whispers. Pay attention to your legs, your joints, your energy, your balance. Those signals matter. And the choices you make at the dinner table today may determine how well your body carries you 5 years from now. Maybe even 10. I have seen older adults reclaim strength they thought was gone forever. I have watched people return to gardening, walking, traveling, even dancing again after believing their best years were behind them. Not because they discovered a miracle cure, but because they finally gave their bodies the support they desperately needed. And perhaps tonight, this message was your warning sign too. The one your body has been trying to send for years.